So that was my old love. But if I now look at the new love, it's APIs everywhere. If you want to do GenAI, you need to integrate because that's the biggest, let's say challenge you have over there is that agent needs to be connected to your systems. Typically, an agent runs within a business process, and there are not a lot of organizations who have a business process that only covers a single application. Mostly a single business process covers 1, 2, up to 6 applications. And if you want to be your GenAI agent to be aware of that whole chain, that end-to-end process, you need to integrate. And that's the biggest challenge.
Hey there, and welcome to BizTalk, the podcast. I'm Rick.
And I am Oscar.
And today we are joined by Toon Vanhoutte, who is an Azure Solution Architect, a Microsoft MVP, and managing partner of Noost, with a mission to deliver secure and scalable applications in the cloud and a fresh passion for generative AI. Welcome, Toon.
Welcome.
Hey guys.
Well, thank you so much for being here because I have a lot of questions, and especially normally we try and cram the bio into a one sentence.
Yeah,
we didn't
happen. Sorry.
We didn't even go there. So let's start with the beginning. Who are you, and what are you currently doing over at Noost for people listening that want to have a little bit more context than just the two sentences that we just gave?
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Toon Vanhoutte from Belgium. I've been a Microsoft consultant all my life. It started with a good old BizTalk. Maybe you heard about that.
Definitely.
The Microsoft integration platform that we had since 2004. So there I started my career, let's say. And then gradually moved on to the cloud, let's say, through Azure Integration Services. And then I went a little bit broader. Went through Azure Infrastructure, more on the application side. Got deep into Power Platform because I like coding, but I also like low code and definitely like the mix of the two. And then, the last years I totally jumped on the generative AI train. So now the last 5 years of my career, I'm together with Sam, managing partner of Noost. So Noost is a Microsoft consultancy company here in Belgium. So we have a very regional focus. So we focus on the left side of Flanders, so the west and the east of Flanders. And we build end-to-end Microsoft solutions for our customers to make their life easier and more efficient.
So there's a bunch of things that we could dive into. So let's start at the first part, right? You said you jumped
BizTalk.
on the... let's because but let's because like I said, I did the BizTalk training, and at that point in time, it was the most well-known, I think, training company in the Netherlands was Class A. They don't exist anymore, if I'm correct. But the promise of the product was tremendous. And then, to be honest, currently, I don't think there's one product that can do what BizTalk did. Now, of course, we have, like you said, integration services. So there's a lot of, together with the low code or the low code or no code solutions that are out there, you can get the same job done, but there's currently not a product that can do what BizTalk could. Yeah,
indeed. I think besides Notepad, I think it's the most stable product that Microsoft has ever built and designed. Because since 2004, the internal engine of BizTalk never changed. And to be honest, I don't think there's a single engineer at Microsoft still daring to touch the internal engine. So it was a fantastic product. Of course, it came with its limitations and so on, but it still runs a lot of integrations at many big companies worldwide. So I loved working with it, but I'm happy that we are now in the cloud age and that integration has become more heterogeneous and you have more options because BizTalk was a true product. And the product has advantages. You have everything out of the box available, but you're also limited to the patterns that the product offers you.
Yep.
While now with Azure and Azure Integration Services, you have more a suite and an ecosystem. You have a little bit more responsibility to make it stable, but you have more options to build richer, better, and more stable integrations.
Yeah, I think for most what you saw where it was implemented, you basically needed a team for BizTalk.
Yeah, indeed.
And while
dedicated experts, yeah.
And it was like top, almost over engineering in even not too big companies. And because there were no alternatives, as you say, now you have more pointy, specific tools that would go end to end and just solve your problem. And it's also more known patterns to do that. But I think it did, like, in that moment really solve the solutions, like how we're going to talk to the other system, because there's nothing doing it. And this completely opened it up. But basically you had a team of people deciding your future.
Yeah, that was a little bit the drawback. You had quite a big, steep learning curve on BizTalk, which means that you have a dedicated team, so also a dedicated bottleneck where you need to put your wish list of integrations to, and so that slows down sometimes an organization.
I saw implementations where, like, basically to prevent or bypass that, they made such a generic end-to-end solution where like blobs of CSV were pasted into an XML that was pasted in. It's like, come on.
And then the orchestration would be like 20 pages scrolling through all of the different scenarios that are in there.
There are even customers who do the mapping, so the transformation from input to output format in Excel.
Yeah.
The whole framework, so the business can do. Yeah. So people do crazy things, of course, to make sure that you can do everything you want in BizTalk. That's a little bit the drawback. You want to do everything from integration in a product that's not always fit for all these kind of integrations.
Do you still run into implementations at clients?
When we started with Noost, we decided not to do any new implementations on BizTalk, so we really want to go future-proof. But if we touch a BizTalk, it's to make sure that we keep it running while we are doing a migration, or we just completely migrate it. So that's really our focus.
And I can imagine the no new implementations, because is it official? It's official end of life is somewhere this year, right?
I think 2030 official. Not 100% sure. Yeah.
Still so long away.
Yeah,
I mean, that also proves the power and the...
Definitely, yes. And if organizations didn't start migrating yet, and you're really in a big corporate organization, it definitely takes you 2 years to do the whole migration. So it's not just an as-is migration, it's a complete re-architecting and re-engineering of your whole integration landscape. So it's quite a challenge.
Yeah, there's a reason you had it in the first place. So I can imagine it's also attached to applications that aren't really being maintained, or they're just there doing their job. So these are hard migrations.
Definitely. So then we still need to support some kind of SOAP API or web service in the cloud. Still needs to happen sometimes. Yeah.
That's SOAP. That's the thing you can't do in .NET anymore. So you have to be in framework.
Yeah, definitely is.
Or you have the NuGet packages that just don't implement everything that you actually need. So then still you need to go back to framework. So it's challenging. But let's move over into the Azure space, because first and foremost, you're an Azure solution architect. Now, for people who have been working with Azure for a bit of time, knowing the general areas and the most important services is maybe not that hard. But for people just joining and just looking at Azure for the first time, they see like more than 200 types of services and they go, where the hell do I start? So looking at that and looking at Azure and its ecosystem that it has right now, for you, what are the, I'm not going to say most important, but maybe the services that stand out most, that you think are most interesting to you as a techie?
Yeah, good question. Let me think about it. Of course, you need compute. I look at it a little bit from an applicative way because that's what I mostly build. So compute, you have different options, but my all-time favorite now is container apps. Azure Container Apps. You have the potential scalability of a Kubernetes, but you have the management layer, which is very low, of maybe an app service, which was also very simple to manage. So typically, I tend to by default choose container apps. Databases, you have SQL database available. You have also the MySQL and stuff. So there you can choose. Storage, the old school storage account is goddamn powerful. People
Yes.
tend to forget it. Also the queues, you don't always need a service bus. If you maybe storage queues can do the trick. So actually those are my favorite limited services. If I then go a little bit to the broader picture, if I have a real, let's say, enterprise architecture, API management is also over there. That's an all-time favorite. Very powerful service within Azure. The developer experience is really crazy. You need to copy paste XML stuff, but okay, ChatGPT and stuff are now good at that. But besides that, Azure API management is a very stable and powerful product.
Yeah, I totally agree on that one. And it actually also takes up quite a few of the use cases that I think would have been implemented by BizTalk in the past, where you can make stuff communicate with each other and even do on-the-fly translation from JSON to XML or back. It's quite powerful as far as that goes.
And it comes, of course, with quite a big price tag. Definitely, if you want enterprise security. Now, the V2 tiers make it a little bit cheaper if you want to have networking security. But yeah, if you can go on public internet, definitely have a look on the consumption tier, because that one is very powerful. 1 million requests for free. So it's a serverless model and quite powerful. I often use it, that one, and it's very cheap.
Awesome. And then, are there any services where you think they don't get enough love? You already mentioned storage, right? Because it's so very powerful.
We
But
take it too much for granted, storage.
yeah, we do. But
definitely, yes.
But also, if you look at the availability of storage, I mean, I've heard outages for quite a few Azure services, but I don't think I can remember more than one storage outage.
Yeah, definitely.
Over
No,
the past,
I think
15
storage
years.
it's even officially or by reputation has so many nines. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's 6 or
And also so many different ways. Like if you want the regional read, like all the letters basically version of it, like it's super stable. And indeed, I think from like also a more scalable perspective, it's still used for all kinds of things. But like if you're just building a solution and you don't want to spend too much, like even a private solution, like storage is the way to go. Like you can use the tables for most of your database work. You can store blob and you have queues. Like, go for it. Data and compute, you're done. I think a lot of things start there. We're in our company, like we use Cosmos a lot. We have, I think, I've like 5K of SQL in production and instances. All the stuff there, but like almost every solution or first iteration, like you just throw it in the table first. Like we'll see where we get, because V1
definitely.
is not going to be it. So we can do a whole design in the database or Cosmos or whatever. Just start there. It's fine.
I have a few, let's say, side projects, websites or web applications that I manage. They all have their data stored in storage because in tables, because it's fast, it's quick, works.
Yeah, definitely. Table storage is very powerful. Of course, it has its limitations, definitely on the partitioning and so on. I once saw a customer building a whole IoT solution on table storage, which worked as long as you remained within a single sensor. But of course, it was not a good solution, but at least for prototyping a proof of concept, they made it. But once they tried to scale, they were not able to do so. And then I think we migrated that one to Azure Data Explorer, which is a hidden gem in Azure. It's actually the underlying engine of log analytics and very powerful.
So that maybe then
Azure.
answers the question, what service doesn't get enough love? Because you said it's a hidden gem, so that also means you see the value of it, but not a lot of people might know the service. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on the service?
Azure Data Explorer is actually an append-only log data store, which is optimized actually for time series databases. So IoT, for example, is a perfect scenario where you have a lot of data coming in real time. And yeah, it's fantastic to see. We have a big customer, I cannot disclose the name, where we are ingesting more than 200 million data points in real time with Azure Data Explorer. So we have event hubs, which is a streaming, the queuing system in a streaming way compared to Kafka. So all the events end up over there. They get published automatically in Data Explorer. So you don't need to write a single line of code for that, because writing that code is not simple. High volume ingestion towards the data store is not simple, definitely if things go wrong. So they all do it for you. So it works for 200 and it works for 200 million messages a day. And you have sub-second latency, because we have on the production floor, so it's in a manufacturing company, we have screens that are not connected to the local center, but they are connected to the clouds. So if something happens on the local machine, they have chosen not to waste any local compute. They go centrally to the cloud, and the screen that the operator sees is really the cloud screen. And there's only a delay of 2 seconds in the whole flow, going from, let's say, the event happens on the machine. We have the event hubs doing the whole streaming ingestion. The data gets stored in Azure Data Explorer and gets visualized on the application of the operator. So wonderful service. You need to know a little bit of tricks over there. So you have the concept of, how is it called again? The materialized views, which are very powerful, where you have a kind of a pre-computed query that they keep up to date for you. Because if you do IoT, there's one query that is very difficult, and that's get me the last known value of every sensor. That last known value can be 2 days ago if the sensor got disconnected. And that's a very, very complex query if you do it on Cosmos DB, if you do it on table storage. And that's a piece of cake, for example, with Azure Data Explorer.
So that also means that this should be the go-to service for people doing things with any type of time series data, right?
If you want to go native Azure, of course, there are open source alternatives. But if you say we want to go native Azure, it's a fantastic service, definitely.
Okay, here we go again. Like, I think Microsoft is terrible in naming and renaming constantly.
I'm just going to walk.
I ignored Data Explorer so long because I thought it was a Data Explorer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought it was a tool for looking at data, right?
That was the first. I think that's the tool on my machine. No, that's what was it called? Like that was the Data
Studio.
It actually became more famous when they decided to discontinue time series insights.
Yeah.
It's like, where did it go?
Insights, that was a little bit the little brother or sister of Data Explorer. And then a lot of people were betting on that one, but that service was quite limited. And then when they discontinue it, the migration guidance was to go to Azure Data Explorer. And I think that did a good thing towards the popularity of that service.
Yeah, there's so many fun things in naming, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Now we've already spoken about integration and then specifically BizTalk, but then in one of the pieces of information you sent us, you said that not only integration but also APIs are your old love and generative AI solutions are your new passion. Now I'd really like to jump into the generative AI a little bit later on, but with the fact that you state that APIs are your old love, does that mean you see an end to APIs in general, or is it just an end of you investing into APIs?
If you're in IT, APIs are everywhere, and I think they are here to stay. But mainly in the past, my focus was to, let's say, expose and publish APIs within the organization and also across the organization boundaries. B2B scenarios where partners integrate with each other through APIs. I still like to do that, but it's not my main focus anymore. So it comes a little bit from the integration background, where you don't look at APIs from an application perspective, but you really look at it from an organizational asset. And something, your crown jewels that you need to protect and monitor centrally. So that was my old love, but if I now look at the new love, it's APIs everywhere. If you want to do GenAI, you need to integrate, because that's the biggest, let's say, challenge you have over there, is that agent needs to be connected to your systems. Typically, an agent runs within a business process, and there are not a lot of organizations who have a business process that only covers a single application. Mostly a single business process covers 1, 2, up to 6 applications. And if you want to be your GenAI agent to be aware of that whole chain, that end-to-end process, you need to integrate. And that's the biggest challenge.
Yes. Period.
Do you think, like thinking about that, right? Like an agent taking part of your business problem, or even automating a flow that cuts through multiple domains like that. Do you think in the last decade, the way we build software, do you think we went the right way? Do you think a lot of companies did go the right way by basically, well, what we saw is like we created APIs because we were most of the time building the hip new JavaScript framework on top of it, or instead of doing the end-to-end database straight in the business code, database calls in the business code. So we did some abstraction there, but do a lot of companies actually set themselves up for success now in the AI era because we did some abstraction there already? Or do you still see basically the ball of mud, which we need to pick apart again?
That's a nice one. I will answer with the consultant answer. It depends, but I can tell you on what it depends. If you're an organization who has strategically started building APIs from an outside-in perspective, so not starting from your system, which is SAP Dynamics Salesforce, but starting from your business. And if your APIs are functional APIs who talk the business language, then you are ahead of the competition, and then you are ready for GenAI. If APIs means, we have SAP RFCs that we directly expose to our application consumers, you have technical APIs. You need to have a lot of documentation, a lot of knowledge to know, I need to create an order in SAP, so I need that Dutch abbreviation to be sent to that API. Then you still have a lot of work to do. So it's very important your APIs need to be designed outside in and not designed from your systems. The problem is mostly, who are the API designers? It's typically, I need to build an application. I need the data. I have it over there. It's technically, it's not a problem. I can translate it and we go for it. So these technical APIs, if I see such an API, I need documentation. I need to read the manual. I need to try and error until I know how can I consume that API. If I need to do that try and error as a human being, then an AI agent will not know how to consume that API. So outside-in APIs with a very good design, that's the way to go, to be honest, for generative AI.
I mean, I think you touch upon a very important part there where a lot of organizations are thinking about using AI or starting something with AI, but they just don't know where their data is at yet or how they should make it available to AI. And there's, I think the fundament under decent AI implementations is always the data, right? And the data, the way you actually make it available, but also the governance on top of data and who can see what and when and why and where.
Definitely, because it's not only APIs. APIs are more, let's say, to interact and to make sure that the agent can trigger maybe a few updates in business processes and trigger business events. Or create a support ticket and these kind of things. But in the end, the agents also need access to your data. You have two types of data. You have the structured and the unstructured data. Structured data, that's typically a data lake in Microsoft Fabric or maybe in Synapse that you set up, which is very important, that you only let the agent connect to the gold layer, the curated data sets, which is validated by experts. So that's one side of things. The other side is, of course, also your unstructured data, which is now also accessible through GenAI. And then we are talking about the SharePoints, the Teams, and stuff. That's data. We see a lot of work over there because a lot of companies here in Belgium are still running on the Z drive, the local file share. Or if they have a SharePoint, it's a complete mess. And thanks to generative AI, with Nust, we do now a lot of SharePoint migrations and SharePoint governance projects to make sure that, the AI agent and the people, of course, also know what is the latest version of a certain document. But these kind of things are very important.
Yeah, but also probably that the person asking the question actually has rights to access the document, right? Or the information in the document. Because
Indeed.
We've seen scenarios in which people built AI on top of their SharePoint, and then people got all kinds of answers they weren't allowed to get.
Like it exposes,
but it started with search already, right?
Yeah, it exposes, of course, the 2 decades of non-management, non-access management on things like SharePoint, which can become a big mess. And if you basically make it explorable suddenly, you get all kinds of answers you don't want to see, like.
Or you really want to see, depending on who you are.
But like we were depending on a layer of obscurity. But like once we indeed with search, with like enterprise search kind of solution, you already did that when I think early 2000s that got exposed when people were hosting those Google search things locally. Suddenly that things got exposed. But if you see how your business runs, if you're on a Microsoft stack with all the integrations, which is very handy. But like all the defaults with just dragging a file into a chat or whatever, this stuff becomes available for more people than you think. Like if you share a file and you create a public URL for it, or a URL to share it for, by default, I think it gives access to your department or whatever already to the file. It's never one-to-one. So there, I think a lot of people will find out what kind of data is actually exposed if you would, and you would have been able to find it before.
Yeah,
it wasn't discoverable, but I think there might be some sensitive HR stuff running around.
Yeah, we had already situations where salary information and these kind of things were available to many, but they didn't know. So definitely.
Yeah, it's too easy to just throw a file in the chat to someone, or it's like it's on our things, like that's not the right drive, or that's I think SharePoint can be messy that way.
But I think that's true for everything, right? It's true for the Z drive as well, and it's true. I mean, we've had company shares where information was that you in unsecured folders. So,
but you had some upfront design, or at least some attempts most of the time, where your IT department was in charge of. This is the folder structure for every department. You can put your stuff in there. And it was less complex. While this is more dynamic, especially when Teams is in everything, right? And your Office saves your files where you don't know it. You can just open them. Like since we didn't understand that we had a Z drive with a path anymore, no one understands where it is.
Yeah,
I only save it if I know where it is. This is not, no, I mean, I know I'm an old fart in some of these things, just like if it's something that I ask either ChatGPT or Copilot and I don't want it to remember that, it's either going into a temporary chat or I just delete the chat afterwards. I literally have one chat in, I think, either of the services. Only one that I build up a bit and then the rest I all delete them.
Yeah.
Or that's a good approach.
And GitHub Copilot as well. I ask it to do stuff for me, it does it, and then I delete the.
Yeah, but like I also close my tabs and stuff. Like I'm weird that way.
Yeah, it's the same, man. And then do you also sometimes have to reopen the same tab like 3 or 4 times because you thought you were done but you weren't?
Of course, of course.
It's always the same.
The victim of your own habits.
Yeah, but that, I mean, if that's the only thing, I'm good.
Yeah.
Oscar, do you happen to know what time it is currently?
By the looks of it, it's time for a totally random question. Me? I'll do it. Like,
yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me see. Toon, I have a question for you. Are there any songs you know all the lyrics to?
Songs. Oh, then I need to go back to my teenage years. I was a big fan of Rage Against the Machine. Probably you know them.
Oh yes.
Quite difficult lyrics to remember, but a few of the first album, the self-titled album, like they say, the Rage Against the Machine album, I still know them by heart. Yes, and don't ask me to prove it.
No, we won't. We just next time we see you, we'll randomly make sure a song comes up.
Drag you into a karaoke bar. Yeah.
No, for instance. But I mean, if we're talking music and songs and that kind of stuff, it sometimes or often really ties into memories, especially if it's stuff that you listen to early on. It's sometimes you might even say it was character building for you at that point in time. Yeah. So are there also moments where you explicitly look up this music because it helps you either unwind or maybe process things? Or
I have, let's say, a few other songs that have quite emotional impact for me. For example, somebody who committed suicide in the past, and the moment I heard that news, that song I still know, and sometimes you just go back to that song. If it's particularly on Rage Against the Machine, I played a band, bass guitar in a band for 10 years, more than 10 years, and my bass guitar is still somewhere over here. So it's I don't have a speaker anymore, but I just play every now and then on the bass guitar, and there's always at least a single song of Rage Against the Machine in it. It's a simple, nice, groovy bass, always fantastic to play. Yeah.
Nice, great to hear. Yeah, do you have any songs that you know word by word?
Oh yeah, many. Yeah, definitely. I think I grew up with Queen.
Okay.
So there's a lot there. But I really like the other question more, like getting to a certain feeling. Like for me, like deep focus or coding or whatever. Like at the moment when I'm doing something specific, I have it's called an ADHD
focus,
deep house focus, like pretty high BPM, but just constant pumping. I can just immediately go in the zone there. I also have that with movie soundtracks because they're so connected to like a whole thing. Like I love to listen to those albums. Like
so on the high BPM music to focus in, I use a playlist on Spotify. It's called Nasty Bits.
Oh,
and it's like dirty house, not dirty as in lyrics, but just it's dirty fat house, and it always helps me. I just put it on, and especially if I don't know the songs, then I won't be triggered to sing along or nod along or whatever.
No, they need to be straightforward. Go,
just be in the zone. So have a look at that one.
Yeah, but I like that for work a lot to go.
I still need to try that one. Music that helps me get in the zone when I'm programming.
Yeah.
So apparently,
I try out the playlist. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked to, I think it was Lisa Hoving, who told us that video game music is actually specifically made to have you play the game longer.
To get into the zone.
Yeah. So she uses video game music. I think it was Lisa who told us she uses video game music to get in that zone, and then it just because it's that continuous loop and it builds.
I
up.
also had the pack with the music to code by Carl Franklin, which is pretty cool. They're all 25-minute songs, and they're like fully designed to code by. Like and it's also nice because you know, song is over. I'm taking a breath. Like and I go again.
I've been here for 25 minutes.
Pomodoro style, like also for learning something or like. I need music for those sometimes.
Yeah, I think I've said that before. I think there's still some videos out there of me air drumming while, and it's still air drumming while even being productive computer building stuff. So
that's when you needed to wait for the compiler, right?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, and then I go back to the XKCD where you have the two people fencing.
Sword fighting.
What are you doing? Compiling. Oh, carry on.
And now, in the past, you need to wait a few seconds for the compiler, and now we need to wait minutes for GitHub Copilot to finish.
To finish a completion is like, that's not it. Try again.
So now we can take that time while deploying, right? So because compiling is fast enough, but now deploying we can go fencing again.
Yeah, that should also be seconds.
Fair enough. Okay, going back to your story now again, we talked about the generative AI part, and we already talked a little bit about that, and it's really your new passion. Things I found is that when we speak to customers, that a lot of them say we want to do something with AI, which
Is it
is the
still a
worst
thing? Like
use case.
2 years ago,
It's
definitely.
still
right?
a thing.
Still
We
a
want to
thing?
do something with
It's
AI.
definitely still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes they come with, hey, but we have these 4 use cases, so we know what we want to do. But then if you look at them really good, probably none of them are really AI use cases because it's all a certain amount of search in there and then it's done.
Mhm.
So is that something that you already confirmed a little bit, but is that something that you see as well? And then how do you enable companies to actually make the shift into thinking about how AI can be of assistance in their systems?
Well, actually, we had to postpone this call 10 minutes because I came from a customer where we just, let's say, delivered the result of such a workshop.
Okay.
So we see that question a lot. What we typically do is, or we do such an exercise, let's say, on organization level or in a specific department, depending on where they want. And then, we do first of all an inspiration workshop where we show, let's say, 7 types of generative AI, going from generative BI, where you talk with your data. We have a demo where AI is finding the right improver for invoices, where, let's say, an RFP gets completely scanned by generative AI. So we showcase a little bit the different things you can do with generative AI. You can do the search, you can do the reasoning, you can create support tickets with context that you have. So we try to inspire a little bit. After that, we have brainstorm sessions, which mostly works well, depending a little bit on the audience, of course. Then we, based on that brainstorm, we define a little bit scenarios. Then we have a survey. And after that survey, we do one-on-one meetings. Why? Because typically people tend to look at AI from their own perspective. I lose a lot of time with this, so can we automate that? But I think as an organization, it's also good to think out of the box and to see, can we do new business models with AI? Can we do something on our on the services that we offer? Can we do something on that side? That's of course more vague, more longer term thinking. But in a one-on-one conversation, you can trigger that a little bit. And with that, we go ahead with all that information. We plot, for example, value and efforts, and so we define a little bit low-hanging fruit, and then for every agent that we see, okay, this might be something, we do a small exercise on an ROI calculation, so the return on investment. It's difficult, but you have to do it. And you have 2 types of ROI. You have the hard financial ROI. We do an investment, and that's what we get out of it. But also, for example, a soft or indirect ROI like customer satisfaction and these kind of things. Typically, it tends to work well if you have the good audience and you can inspire them a little bit. Such an efforts of a workshop, it works well, and typically we find good solutions. For example, we now just discovered the idea of a dynamic pricing agent. So setting the price a little bit like you have hotels and flights to make sure that the price is depending on the amount of interest in that product, that the price will dynamically go up and down. If you calculate an ROI on that, it's sometimes crazy what you get out of it. So
I can totally imagine that. The thing is, it really sounds like you have a sound approach on how to go from the first encounter with the company to actually building them, maybe even proof of concepts of the things that might actually add value to them. And I think that's something that's really lacking in the industry right now, because everybody thinks they need to do something with AI, but the planned approach and the thought of approach is just not there all the time. So I think it's really good that you have that available.
Indeed. And for example, doing that ROI exercise, it's difficult, of course. It's also theoretical, but it's important. Let's give you an example. We had a customer where they want to generate documents automatically. It is when they sell something, they need to there's somebody manually creating documents and find replacing actually the names and stuff. It's really not an AI project. It's more of an automation project, but with some integration complexity. But then we did the ROI calculation, and then you actually see there are only 500 documents in a year, for example. If you then just look at the hard financial ROI, you don't get it out of it.
Yeah.
But it's important, for CEOs and entrepreneurs to see that. They still decided to do it, of course, because of customers' employment, return on employment, we call it then, and not return on investment, but on employment. But it's good to make a profound decision on these things. Everybody thought, the value of that agent is high because it's logical that we should automate that. But if you really looked at the hard value and the financial value, it was quite low.
Yeah, I think
still did it, but it's good to do that exercise.
Adding small value in something with high numbers will always pay out easily much more. And things with low risk, it's much easier to also build something with less effort. But in the cases you think, this could work awesome there, they're so specific because it's someone's work where they need to think about. It's a lot of effort, and in the end, like the volume is never high. Because you're thinking about it because it's already exceptional, probably. Yeah. It's good to have someone guiding you through those things, because I think we will all be triggered in our own work to maybe think about the solution that may seem straightforward, but definitely are not, or maybe the hardest thing to do. While there are, like we do have the experience in the field, like companies like you, that will bring some scenarios like, actually, why not?
Indeed, yes. And to be honest, the scenarios mostly come from customers, from the people at the customer side, but they need to be triggered, let's say, in the right way and to get in the right mindset. The cool thing is, thanks to AI, we now get, let's say, as Noest, as a consultancy company, we get into the boardrooms. And we didn't before. We were always talking with the IT managers.
Oh, that's
CIO.
different though.
Now we get in the boardroom. That's an advantage for us. But we arrive with AI and we mostly go home with something else.
Yeah,
it
opens doors.
SharePoints, with data platform, and we first need to sometimes we need to do some groundwork first in order to make the difference with AI. And that's, of course, AI is only a small piece of the puzzle. It's a very dynamic piece who can really create value, but it needs to trust on the data and the APIs around it.
But I can totally imagine that it's a conversation starter now on a different level than consultancy firms normally got in, indeed.
Yeah, and then
definitely.
Just like you said, Toon, the fact that you have demos also enables you to trigger people to think about the possibilities within their company. Because there's a lot of demos on AI out there, but they're all not necessarily targeting business value, because it's, hey, you can talk about a document, or you can, but the fact that you have those demos available means you can trigger the people to start thinking about their own process. And then based off of that, let's hope that they come up with some use cases that work for the company as well.
Yeah, indeed, because we have companies where they did already some exercises like that, or they had a workshop on AI, but it's always theoretical.
Yep.
And abstract thinking is one of the most difficult things you can do. Definitely if IT is not your main concern, because those people are in the business, they are doing finance, they are doing sales, marketing, whatever. But then it's good that you take the time to do a little bit of inspiration. And I like to do that just with real use cases that we done at customers, because that's also important. They don't want to be the first one to implement that use case, of course. Of course, there always is a first one, definitely. But that's why I also like to show sometimes a video of a real customer environment where we integrated, for example, a GenAI agent in a customer service tool. So in ServiceNow, for example, where you really see automated answers being generated. That really shows to our customer or potential customer then, okay, this is possible.
What do you see because let's say the last couple of decades, we automated businesses by building software for companies, and they're using software. And a lot of people's work is actually filling in the forms every day. Like they're not they're really distant from the actual business process they're solving, or where they are a piece in the puzzle of. If you go abstract like this and you want to add something that doesn't automate something they already have or take something away, but actually adds value or just make something completely obsolete by bypassing, you need to go back to the core. Can you reach that easily? Because I can imagine in a lot of, especially enterprises, people are so distant from the thing they're actually solving. They basically only go back to the basics when there's a power outage. It's like load the truck, please, because that was the thing we're doing.
That's a challenge. Luckily, our focus is not big enterprises. We are more on the mid-sized companies, so not the small ones, but let's say from 100 employees to 5,000. That's a little bit the sweet spot for us. And yeah, you see that we can make a bigger change in those dynamic organizations who the culture is also very important. If you immediately see it's an organization with a big meeting culture, that says already a lot. And then, I automatically do already some proactive, how do you say it again? Expectation management. But for now, I came from a very dynamic organization, and you really feel that, okay, here we can do something. We need maybe only 3 people to decide on this business process. We have the pros, we have the cons. We sleep one night over it, and tomorrow we will take the decision. Yeah, if you have such short communication lines and such short decision lines, it can go quite quick with AI and with actually any process improvement, definitely. Sometimes the problem is with AI that we only scratch the surface and the process is still wrong. And I need to fill in that Excel because the process is wrong. If you then will use AI to fill in that Excel, okay, that will help that people's task, but you don't help the organization.
No.
First, look at the process, and maybe you don't need a single line of AI to get it working.
I think that's a very good thing to keep in mind.
One thing I always need to fill in that Excel, but why? Why do you need to fill it in?
That's like my experience. Like, ask why 5 times for everything before you do anything.
Why?
Why do you do that?
One thing that you triggered, Toon, is you just mentioned that maybe sometimes new business is where AI can shine the most. Now, I can also imagine that there's some low-hanging fruit that companies can leverage the power of AI for instance, do stuff more effectively. But one of the things is I talked to a customer yesterday, and they were in the legal space. And I said, I mean, they had more than 20 years of legal cases documented, and they were anonymized, but still there were legal cases, front to back, every information in there. So that also means that they're sitting on a gold mine, because that type of data, and the same is true for, of course, insurance or whatever other document-driven system is out there. There's such a vast amount of data in there that you can use to predict, to help steer, to do anything. There's so much value there, and I think that's where we're going to go for the upcoming future, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that also, let's say, small language models will be there in the future, where you have models just purely trained on, for example, legal information within a specific sector, within a specific country or specific context. I think in the coming years, we will probably move into something like that, because now it's still a language model. Don't forget it.
True.
It's not a smart thing. It's just a language model. It's advanced prediction of the next word. Still it is. But of course, if we can use language models and add a layer of legal context on top of it, trained within the model, I think we will see powerful things in the future.
I mean, that's I lost my train of thought.
But you started on a new business side, right? Like this is like raw text. We treat it as unstructured. It was data, but this is now data we can do something with. So this just what you discussed with the customer is like, this data used to be handy, but not really relevant if you're building software. And now it's a complete basis of making next decisions.
And it's a potential business model.
And it's business model by itself.
That's where I wanted to go. So now even more companies are going to be IT companies, because now instead of only being an insurance firm or only being a legal firm, you can now also be the advisor, because you share that information externally based on all of your experience, how people can perceive their legal case or their...
And the thing with that is, like, if you look further, is like, we did a lot of things and we worked by hand. These were lawyers making those documents and things. So this is a snapshot of the old world, and we're basically echoing that into with a LLM or whatever to create new documents, to assess them or whatever. Like, moment we shift from now, it's like we trained the large language models on the internet of the content of the internet, but at the moment, most of the content in the internet generated is also generated by the model. It's like, will we have some kind of collapse where everything becomes just gray? Like, also
That's a risk,
with these models, like,
I think they're currently working on injecting when stuff is generated instead of when it's quote unquote normal data.
But like, do we always then, from now into the future, stay where we are because everything that we do is based on the old world?
No, but look, if we look at, for instance, such a legal instance, and let's discuss, let's say, 5 legal cases that were tried before a judge. Then, based on those 5, you can predict what the 6th one will do. But a prediction is never necessarily 100% true. Only the outcome is true. So then that outcome becomes the 6th version of what you feed into the model. So in that case, it's not only including generated stuff, it's including the results of what we had predicted on.
Yeah, but it's hard to get a feel what is going to be long-lasting value at this moment. I think at this moment, having a corpus of data in your business realm, where it used to be useless because it's not just in columns and it's text and it's all kind of things. This is your moment to convert that into an API, an MCP endpoint, or whatever with a commercial value on it. But I'm not sure if that will stay valid. I think that's a temporary gold rush.
Yeah, difficult to predict, but I tend to agree on that, yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's difficult to predict. Only time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see.
And you told there, Rick, and then we can train the model with the 6th, let's say, outcome of the judgment. That's maybe the biggest problem that we now see with GenAI. We cannot train it. So it's not traditional machine learning where if we append new data on our data sets, the model becomes a little bit smarter again. So that's the biggest challenge that we see. We can only give it more context, better instructions, but it forgets everything that it does, the model, and that's the weakest point with generative AI. It cannot learn from previous occurrences. Definitely there's something will be invented, some new patterns will rise in the future.
Yeah, what I meant by it is the 6th ruling of the judge, or the ruling of the judge in the 6th case, will then just again become a case that was tried and somebody said something about. So now we have 6 cases that we can train a model on. And in that case, the new information gets added. But if you look at, for instance, code generation, and I think there's a lot of code already on GitHub that has been entirely or partially generated by an AI.
So you definitely saw that. Well, the assistants, they were writing pretty nice code straight away because they were trained in open source, which is like everyone can see it, so I'll better tidy it up. If those models would have been trained on all the enterprise code out there, we would have gotten
different
results. Different results. But like the question is, like, now I don't know if open source is going as fast as it used to be, but like most of the code snippets and blog posts and whatever will probably be partly generated. Most code bases will be. I also have a feeling that The open source world is changing a bit. While it was in the past decade really nice to build something in your spare time and expose it, and people are running into. They're now part of the the XKCD with the stack of libraries and all the dependencies, and they feel that, and it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, but like I'm not going to take that responsibility anymore because everyone is nagging at me and I'm getting paid zero. So I don't know, like, what's the next step? Like, where do we train on, or is this the code we will always generate from now on? Like,
Yeah, that's a good one. And talking about new business models, we do already witnessed app modernization. From the beginning. I think within 2 years we will start with not with app modernization, but with vibe coding stabilization projects.
yep.
Yeah, that organizations just have a vibe coded black box, and it worked well, but then suddenly they need to change maybe add some new legal requirements, because the legislation has changed, and nobody dares to touch that goddamn thing that was created. So
Yeah. And I'm pen testing
also
with
for us,
the
new
AI
business
OWASP.
models. Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Yep. I think we would be able to
Yep.
talk for hours on end. So maybe I'll just invite you for another episode somewhere in the future. But for now, let's try and wrap up. Is there anything that you would like to get back to, or anything that you would like to add based on what we already discussed today?
Maybe one final thing then. It's from experience. We focus always on the end users, and that's always a big problem in IT projects. People tend to forget the eventual end user. If you do that in IT projects, they mostly fail. If you do that in GenAI projects, they will definitely fail. Because adoption and business knowledge is more important than ever when you're doing GenAI projects. So make sure that you involve the end users. First of all, from an adoption perspective, because some users are afraid to lose their job. Other users are very skeptical against AI. And if you don't succeed in gradually building up that trust with demos, with automated testing and stuff, you will never get there that they will eventually use it. So that's very important. The end users, it is already important, but now it's super important with generative AI.
So I'm going to pull in cloud adoption framework, because the cloud adoption framework is not only about explaining why cloud, but also taking the organization in the migration towards going to use cloud compute in general, or cloud stuff in general. Maybe we need to define the same for AI, the AI adoption framework, and where we not only explain the C-level, but also, just like you said, the end users, and take all of them with us on this journey where we actually explain that AI is going to add value to us in the company.
But this is a technology that is basically now like soaked in everything you touch. It's not just the app or the agent, or it is also the chatbot that you use to answer some questions. And I think some of the things also compliance and knowing what you can use in your daily job, where you can add to. Because I think, we had a period where the bring your own device was a really big thing. And then we went back from that mostly because everyone was in panic about security. I think now it's like, there's no, like, people are opening their own chatbot next to it. And then there's some corporate like, please use the Copilot in your browser or in your whatever, because we have a corporate account for that. I think like a framework that helps all the users go through that, like, it's important. Like at some point, like, every company is a technology company, but also every user should be a technology user and should understand what risks they're taking, legal and security wise, by going outside of the standard tool set. So I think it's also that becomes more and more important. So some frameworks with guidance, like for this particular size of organization with these tool sets, just give your people this training or this
guidance.
Yeah, guidance. It's more important.
Shadow AI is real. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Very real.
And in Belgium, it's even mandatory as an employer to give your employees AI literacy training. So that's really
That's good.
now mandatory. I'm not sure in the Netherlands, but at least in Belgium, it's mandatory. It's on the one hand, it's a little bit of overheads. Again, we need to do this, but I think it's for the good, for the better. So if you do that in a good way, I think it's a positive evolution. These kind of things.
Totally agree.
Toon,
thank you so much for being our guest, and we would love to have you on a second time because, again, I think we could have another very interesting conversation.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for the invite.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
And thank you for listening to Better Talks, the podcast. Better Talks is made possible by BetterBit Managed Software Development.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.